What's up, guys? Compound Coalition here with Don Edwards from Green Line Tactical.
Green Line Tactical, and all points around everywhere, I guess, whatever.
Got it. So what do you do nowadays? What are you famous for?
Oh, probably, well, firearms and tactics training, but night vision. Everybody wants to come touch the magic on the night vision training stuff, night fighter. I guess I've been nicknamed the Nod Father by a few people.
The Nod Father, all right. So is a night vision class, if you do the same class, like a fighting rifle class,
Right.
Night vision versus daytime, are you going to fire a lot less rounds in the nighttime one?
Not a lot less, pretty close to about the same. So in our night fighter course, you'll shoot 700 to 800 rounds of rifle, and then probably a couple hundred pistol. So not quite as much, because it's not. Well, I say this, it's not really a daytime carbine course that's just shot under nods. Well, we jump right into that, but that's what some things are. It's very information heavy. So the first night of Night Fighter is very educational, and there's a long PowerPoint, but we still shoot. We still shoot quite a bit. So
how did you get here?
You mean like physically? How did
No,
I get here?
I mean like to this point in the industry. Like,
oh, dude.
Like when you were 18, what did you think you were going to do?
I wanted to be a Green Beret.
Did you? And you were a Green Beret.
Yeah, I was a Ranger. I was an Army Ranger, because you couldn't just do that. And then ended up getting out for a bit, and then coming back in, retired from 20th Special Forces Group. So I was an end user for a long time, and then somewhere, being a guard guy, I also had a job at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, and I hooked up with some buddies and had a training company. They both worked at a company called ITT that used to be the main manufacturer.
Yeah, Litton, Varro, ITT. Yeah.
So they used to be the main manufacturer for all that stuff. So we kind of formed some training programs. And I would say at that point in time, 15-ish years ago, we were the only guys really developing curriculum, especially outside of the government. And really, military didn't have any training. It was like, here's your stuff. Just put it on, use it, read the book, and the book really tells you how to like clean the lenses and put the batteries in.
So you were like an end user of like 7 Bravos or even 5s maybe back then?
Oh yeah, we had 7s and 5s. Back when I was in Ranger Battalion, we used to ride our motorcycles and stuff with PVS 5s on.
Yeah, and then the Anvis stuff, like the helicopter, the dual tubes.
Yeah,
and
that
stuff.
came along. Being a guard guy, we were a little behind on getting issued some of the stuff, but PVS 14 was a game changer, I thought, because it just
it was.
It was. I mean, a major. The whole PVS 7 idea. Don't get me started on that, but I will. It, not too close. Being a single with a mirrors to, it's like fake binocular vision. It's worse than just having a monocular. The monocular by itself was better. So the PVS 14 changed the game. And then eventually, as I started working as a contractor and stuff like that, I started getting the duals, aviation stuff.
Yeah, so I got some. I think the first one I had was an ANP, was a 14, and then I got a 7 because the cost to entry was so low.
Oh yeah, and you can get them super cheap.
And for just walking around in the backyard and the property and back in the woods and stuff, the 7 was cool. And then I thought, I'm gonna drive home with this 14, right? And I had the skull crusher thing that it had come with, and I drove 14 miles home, and I had such a headache, and I had never driven with night vision before. So for days, like, you feel those muscles, you feel your traps and stuff, and you're just not accustomed to that. You have no idea when you get that thing.
It does take a little bit to get used to.
And then the things that come with it, from reading, as a young man, reading like American Survival Guide and SWAT magazine, and you saw this thing and you knew that 14 cost, $3,000 or whatever. And it was never in your head that you needed another $20,000 worth of stuff to be able to actually utilize that.
Well, back when we were kids, reading all those magazines, and that's the kind of stuff that got me interested in the military, I was that kid that would go to the newsstand and read Soldier Fortune magazine without buying it,
Yeah, no doubt.
But you didn't know anything, and they didn't have lasers. My early days in the military, when we had night vision, we still didn't have lasers. So it really wasn't practical to shoot with it. It was just for walking around with. And then you were still shooting in the dark blind.
And then the first lasers you saw come out were like mag lights that somebody had modified. They were huge. They were like D-cell stuff.
That I never played with those, but I know what you're talking about. And then we had the Pac 4, and it looked like a flashlight, and it just had a laser in it. So it might have been something like that. And And when that came out, I was like, holy crap, we can actually just like put the laser on the thing and shoot the thing.
So how rapid is the advancement? Like I believe like in flashlights, you look at these LED flashlights, and by the time you see something in marketing or it's hit the market to the end user, civilian, I feel like they're actually 2 years way beyond that, and they just have to sell this because we've already ramped up and produced this. Is that kind of how it is with night vision?
I think now it's not quite so much because the market is moving so fast. Things are available. The companies that manufacture it know that the consumers can afford it and they want it. So they're not sitting on it very long. Some of those super, like really high spec tubes, I think they hold for their tier 1 customers, of course, for a couple of reasons. One, if they can only make a certain amount of them, they're going to sell them to those guys. And two, there's kind of a handshake agreement saying, hey, as long as possible, we want to be the only ones with the best stuff out there. As far as laser development goes, I'm sure there's a few things coming down the pipe that we're not going to see until after they've been fielded for a while and stuff like that. But most of that's going to be probably in the different wavelengths. So there's different wavelengths in the light spectrum, and let's say shortwave infrared is a sliver of the spectrum that can't be seen. It's kind of between your night vision and your thermal.
You can certainly feel it though when you're looking at it in the mirror in the dark,
But so I know they're working on we want to be able to have that capability so that we can have a laser or a beacon that nobody can see but us. Because now we don't really own the night the way we used to.
I remember, man, it was 25 years ago, probably 20 years ago. Well, it was when I was in San Diego. Dev Group had some smoke grenades that you could only see under IR.
Yeah, IR smoke.
Yeah, and then I believe there was IR tracers also. I thought
there's
there was
IR, and then there's also IR like illumination rounds and stuff for the mortars and the artillery and stuff like that. And that's been used quite a bit, off and on. It's really pretty cool because it your bad guy can't tell, but now we can see him.
Yeah. So we own the night, and everything. Anybody that we're fighting, we always have the upper hand on night vision. All that stuff that was left over in Afghanistan. I was actually just listening to some stuff today. Sean Ryan had a dude on that was a guy from somehow embedded with the Taliban or something. But he was saying all that stuff was left over there. Does that change any of that battlefield? Are we ever going to come up against that? And does it even matter at this point?
That's a good question. I don't know a lot of details about what was left over. There's lots of speculation. I know that we had fielded and basically given night vision to the Afghan ANA, the Afghan National Army.
So they already had it.
But it was Gen 2 PVS-7s and stuff like that. So if in fact that's what was left behind and that's what everybody's making a big deal about, we were planning on leaving that anyways. It's not like I really doubt that dudes left panos behind.
I think it was like.
I mean, I don't see that happening. But all the gear, all the old M4s and M16s that we'd given to the ANA and the PBS-7s and stuff like that. That, as far as I know, really only their special forces guys kind of had that stuff in mass. Yeah, that got left over, and then they just walked away from it probably or sold it. So I don't know that it's really high quality stuff, but it's everywhere. I mean, you look at Ukraine, Europe, they make night vision. It's out there and it's being fielded. It's just now we're in an era where it's not a secret anymore. So we're not the only ones that have it. We do have better stuff. Excuse me. But I think it does kind of change our TTPs, our tactics and our techniques, to where it's getting more and more common for guys to use the lasers less, and we're putting some taller mounts on our optics on the gun so that we can shoot passively with the with our red dots and aim points, without having to rely on lasers quite as much.
It's kind of how it was in the beginning when the 14s first came out. You were looking through them into like a Comp M or something. They had that IR setting.
Yeah, because we didn't really. I mean, even when the 14s came out, it took a while for us to have lasers for them. The PEC 2 or something viable. So guys are changing the way they operate, and I think you just have to realize that we don't 100% own the night anymore. We just need to be smarter and better trained about it.
Light discipline and stuff.
Same thing.
I've heard they have some targeting systems out on the battlefield now that detect the glint of any optics out in the wood lines and stuff.
They've been working on stuff like that for a long time. I know for like counter sniper type operations and stuff like that. So it just makes sense to me that it would bleed over into other uses.
The battlefield,
for sure.
Yeah, they have them, like they have something on some of the tanks or some of the armored vehicles that just automatically turn turret and just put rounds right where they find that glint at.
Yeah. Pretty scary if you're
no shit.
You're on the receiving end of that.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
So for a guy with an AR-15 and he's taken some classes, he's done his pistol classes, his rifle classes, what is the real entry level to be able to do night vision classes?
So assuming you have the rifle with the good white light and stuff like that on it, anywhere from $5K and up, I would say. If you're going to start out with, and I'm not super up on current prices, but for about $5,000 you can get a pretty good PVS-14, a bump helmet and the mount, and a decent laser. You're not going to get a high-end laser like a B. Myers Mall or something like that, but probably for around $5K, and you can go all the way up to 10, 15. You want panos, you're looking at the price of your car.
And panos, is that the quad?
That's
things?
the quads, the panoramic.
Is there a big difference in them?
They're awesome. I mean, you have like a 90 to 100 degree field of view. The thing that a lot of guys don't realize is you still only have a 40 degree top and bottom
window.
It's still around, it's still the same size tube. It's just splayed out like that. So it's almost like you're looking through a mail slot.
Anything in color yet?
Not that I've seen. There's been some guys put out some filters and stuff like that, but it's not really actually color. The white phosphor, the unfilmed white phosphor, is king right now still. It just gives such finer detail and higher amounts of light being amplified, transferring into the tube.
What exactly does unfilmed mean?
Basically, it is where, so you have these different portions inside the tube. You have a microchannel plate and things of that nature, photocathode. The closer they can be together, the more efficient it's going to be. But if they're actually touching, they're going to like basically burn each other out. So there has to be some sort of protective coatings in between them. Some of the bigger leaps in like performance have come from being able to use either thinner or different types of coatings that allow that to be, better transfer. So in theory, if you could have no films, then that would be perfect, but you can't. So unfilmed is a company called L3 who manufactures it. That's what they call it. It's really less film. It's less than any of the other competitors. So they're right now king of the hill when it comes to performance on the tubes. So their unfilmed white phosphor tubes are pretty much they're the undisputed champion when it comes to high end performance. That's what's in all the special ops goggles and stuff like that.
What's powering most of the night vision nowadays?
As far as batteries?
Yeah, are we still 123s or?
Yeah, CR123s, especially all the consumer stuff that has onboard battery. PVS-31s, obviously, not obviously, but they run on a AA, and they only really work good if you use a lithium AA. You're going to get about a half hour out of an alkaline. So you can put a AA in it, or it runs on a battery pack of AAs, which put the lithiums in it, and you'll get a good full night of use out of it.
Now, are 31s just two 14s? Is that what 31s are?
Well, not really, but they were... And they're a little over a 10-year-old design at this point, maybe a lot more than that. They were the first really lightweight, dual tube, rugged enough for guys to run around and do stuff that was fielded, and they're still being fielded. I think we're in PVS 31 Deltas at this point, or something like that. So they're super lightweight compared to some of the commercial offerings, but the commercial stuff is getting lower and lower. Some of the things that make it a little bit different is to shave weight. They used some proprietary lens assemblies and stuff like that that are lighter than what's on a PVS-14. And then I'm not sure if that's why they went with a AA battery, if it's just commonality. But you can't adjust the rear So those of us that are getting old and need to be able to focus a little bit better, it's not maybe the best choice. But if you think about it, it was made for operators who have 20/20 eyesight or can get laser surgery to have that, paid for by their boss.
The 31s cannot adjust the back?
Right.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that's one of the things that I like about the commercial stuff that's out there is almost everything anybody's making now uses PVS 14 lens assemblies. So they're common. It was like if we decide, hey, we're going to design a pistol, and to make life easier for everybody, it's going to take Glock magazines.
Yeah, or PMags.
Yeah, something like that. So that's how I feel about the PVS 14 lens assemblies. They may not be the lightest, but they're standard.
Right.
They're kind of an industry standard. They're out there. They're a known quantity. If something breaks, at this point you can usually find somebody who can work on nods that can replace that for you for a few $100 versus sending it back to the factory.
Nowadays there's kids just in their mom's coffee table working on nods.
I know. It's I mean, I love it. I think it's great.
They're printing parts and all kinds of shit.
You have to sort through who knows really what they're doing, because there is no like armor certification like you have with ARs these days.
Yeah.
So you don't really know who really knows what they're talking about, but usually reputations and stuff like that. But there's a lot of good guys out there. There's a lot of not so great.
Does nods go hand in hand with comm guys?
With what?
Communications?
I don't know.
What'd you do in SF?
I was a weapons sergeant.
Okay.
Yeah. Retired as a team sergeant, but I mean, it's all kind of technology, but I would say that the night vision is more of it fits in more with the guns and tactics side of the house, but it's all one package. If you're talking about the battlefield, every mission's a commo mission. If you talk to a radio guy. So
you teach mostly night vision. Do you have a sponsor for your night vision, or do you have a company that provides equipment to you to rent out, or?
No, and I'd say night vision is probably 50% of what we do. Like, I'm in town to do a designated marksman course, but I work still closely with TNBC. I used to be the director of government sales.
Yeah, they were one of our dealers.
Yeah, and I stood up one of the, I was the director of training there before I left. But as far as rental gear, we own that.
Okay.
We have about a dozen complete sets of rental gear that we've just kind of, it's not super fancy. It's not the newest in the world, but it's stuff you can take a class with.
Can a guy fly in from Japan and you have turnkey, you provide gun and everything?
If he's American, he can use it. But yeah, ITAR is restricted
to night
vision. Yeah, night vision is actually more ITAR restricted than a lot of other things.
So I knew night vision was. So a Japanese citizen cannot fly in to take a gun class in the United States and use night vision?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, so foreign nationals, stuff like that. Now maybe if it was Generation 2 or something like that, I'd have to look into it. I have had guys come down from Canada, but they brought their own night vision. They did the ITAR paperwork to import it in and out with them. So they borrowed rifles because they're like, we don't have all that stuff and cross the border with that. But,
especially now.
Yeah, but the guy owned a night vision company up in Canada. So he's like, oh, it's easy. I know how to do the paperwork for that, and we'll just bring our own.
Was that Ed Hubble?
No, it was a guy named Zimming Wang. So there's that. But we do have rental gear. So like you said, if a guy just wants to take the class, he can rent it. I think we charge like $200 for the weekend to rent the gear. And then that's what a lot of guys do. And they'll be educated. They'll understand what it is they want to go buy. And even if they have the money, I tell guys, save your money till afterwards. Make sure you buy once, cry once kind of thing, because it ain't cheap, I know.
Yeah, you see a lot of stuff on the forums, especially the night vision groups and stuff, where a guy's going to take a 14, and then in a couple weeks or months he's going to buy another 14, then he's going to put a bridge and do all this shit. And by the time you're done, man, like, yeah, it's a layaway plan, but by the time you're done, you could spend another little bit more and have something, much more superior.
That's purpose-built for duels, yeah.
So what helmet do you like?
I'm an Ops Corps guy, mostly. I've had a good friendship with those guys over the years, and I've just been wearing Ops Corps helmets since the war.
And you use their suspension system and everything?
Yeah. I replace the pads sometimes with the 4D Tactical because they're nice and foamy, or, it's like memory foam. But,
and then do you got the fancy earmuffs that come down?
They come in from the back. I use Ops Corps amps.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what my buddy Evan, Radio Made Easy, he's got a pair of those. He really likes them.
Yeah, they're awesome. So yeah, mostly ops core.
And then what do you like for ballast and stuff on there?
We run the TMEC Mohawk.
Okay.
On the back. A little partial to it. I was in on the design process of it when I worked there and stuff like that. And it's handy. It's got everything I need. It's got a little battery storage. It's got Velcro on it for your strobe light if you want. And so our rental helmets pretty much all have Mohawks on them and whatnot. But it doesn't matter. There's some new ones coming out, or a lot of guys are making them now. I think you make something, don't you?
We make a ballast. Yeah. TNVC sold it.
Okay.
Yeah, but ours held the older, the MS2000, and then had a battery tray.
Oh, yeah. I had one of those way back in the day.
And then we had the flat pocket in there for steel or lead washers. We did those with SEAL Team 3 and 7s, where all that design came from.
Yeah, I think I had one of those back in the day. I don't know where it is.
Yeah. Well, guys aren't really running that MS2000 much anymore.
I am.
You are?
Yeah.
All right.
I got 2 of them, and I'm going to run them till they break.
Yeah. Yeah, they're out there, man.
Yeah.
So you look at these helmets, and they're like the modern day Toyota Tacoma. Like you get the helmet, and then there's 800 things you can buy to put on there.
Yeah.
And it's ever changing, man. Just like a truck.
It is. And it's a slippery slope. You can put too much BS
2
on
pounds
there.
of shit on there.
But I resisted the helmet, the counterweight for a long time. Just it didn't make sense to me until the first time I did it.
I needed the counterweight the first time I drove home with that.
I didn't know what I didn't know. And it seemed counterintuitive to add more weight to my head. But what it does is it balances the teeter-totter out. So, yeah, it's pulling forward, and you're like fighting it all night long. And I never realized that, how much it relieves the tension. You don't feel the weight. You feel less strain. But I would say, you didn't ask, but I would say a good helmet, like a ballast, a counterweight of some sort, and something that also maybe has the ability to store a few extra batteries, so you've got them on you all the time, because it's equipment that is battery intensive or dependent. And I do like having some sort of light on there. Some guys like to have just a little, like Princeton Tech or something,
a little
LED
light. Yeah,
those are nice.
And those have IR built into them.
You can get them like that. You can get them with either or. That's always a good thing to have. Or depends on what you need.
Would you rather have a separate IR light and white light, or would you like to have it both in the same module?
I don't know. I guess it kind of depends on what I needed the light for. I've gone where I've run one like little LED, and then on the other side have more of a full power white light, because once upon a time I needed like a bright headlamp type of thing, but I was still gonna have my helmet on and just flip the nods up to be searching around in rooms and stuff. So I actually think we velcroed it on there. It was before the arc rails existed, just a click on, click off Surefire light. So it kind of depends on what you need. Right now on my main helmet that I wear all the time, I have this Surefire. It's like one of their vampire lights, but they collaborated with TNVC, so it's kind of tailor-made for a helmet. So they redesigned the tail cap so that the first click is on low versus first click being high.
Yeah.
So the idea is if it's on your helmet, you probably just need a dim light. And it's also got the vampire head, so I can do IR or white. And I like that. It was a good idea. I think Augie Kim over there at TNVC helped come up with that. And I'd say that's a good option for helmet light. I know guys that'll just put an old Surefire
6P or something,
or an X200, like an old pistol light,
yeah,
or some of the cheaper pistol lights that will never survive through a full day of shooting on a gun, but they're not getting a lot of heating on a helmet. Something cheap. It doesn't have to be super ruggedized or anything like that. It's on your helmet, especially if you don't really do this stuff for a living. If you're out there having fun on the range or taking classes.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
What so do you carry a white light on all of your guns? Do you think every gun should have a white light on it?
I like having, yes, if possible. And I say that, this is going to make a lot of people mad.
Say it.
Like, no, I mean, it's I mean, I don't know. I think a lot of people would agree with me too, but you have to have a handheld light, first of all.
So that you're not flagging if you're identifying.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, you may not always need to have your pistol in your hand.
Okay.
But you need a light. So you don't want to have your gun in your hand just because it has a light on it. But if you think about it like this, if you're shooting for your life, you want to have one hand on the gun or two hands on the gun.
Right.
And anytime you have a flashlight in your hand, I don't care what technique you're using, it's one-handed shooting.
Yeah.
So having a lanyard or something on that handheld light that you can just let go of it and put 2 hands on the gun and still turn on a light, I think is important.
So for a lanyard, do you like to have the elastic that comes across the palm on there, or do you like to have it on the wrist?
So I usually like a finger loop or something like that. I have several of Andrew's.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah.
I use his, and I have another alumni that makes one called Retention Ring, Daniel Easterday. And I like both of those. I like to be able to like stick my finger through that, or on Andrew's, I usually get my...
That's combat art for
combat
you guys
art.
that don't know.
Yeah, you guys should know Andrew. Yeah, but I'll just hang. I like to just put a finger through that loop instead of all the way through my hand.
What do you like for your white light?
I've got a variety. I'm kind of I don't say agnostic, but I'm equal opportunity. I've got Surefires, I've got mod lights and cloud. I've even got one that I kind of built out of a Malkoff head and a body.
Man, I haven't heard Malkoff.
Yeah, they still
forever.
they're still OEM for a lot of people. And
yeah,
stuff
we used
like
to
that.
use drop-ins to the Surefires.
Surefire.
That's why they started building them. They're like, man, everybody's buying these other guys' bulbs.
Yeah, just upgrade your old incandescent to an LED.
Yeah.
Remember when going from 60 lumens to like 120 lumens was like amazeballs?
Yeah.
Now, if you only had 120 lumens, you were like, what is that?
Man, we worked with
birthday candle?
Yeah, we worked with Surefire a lot, especially when they launched the training institute. Well, he had retired, and then like Costco wanted to run 6Ps or something, and there was something had happened. He came back out of retirement, and he wanted to have machine guns in California, so he set up that training like Dave Maynard, Mike Sneed, Ken Good, all those team guys, and we did the Surefire instructor vest, and then those reps coming down, Barry Duke, who's still there doing suppressors, I believe. They brought in Phil Seeberger, which was Ops Inc., and we went with Scully and Travis Mitchell to hike stock. It wasn't hike stock shoot. It was a sniper competition, Gillette, Wyoming, and we ran into Phil Seeberger.
Yeah, that's the old Surefire ranch that now Drake Clark owns that.
Yeah. So it was Dave Locke. It was DNL.
Okay.
And we went in there, and he had some dudes there who had just done Everest, and they had been there acclimating for like 30 days or so to do this sniper competition. And we rolled into town, and my guys were all kitted out like as Marines, like actual stay dudes. And all these other guys, they were like Eco Challenge dudes and shit, and they were just like running. They were in like running gear with a rifle. And it was a good time, man. We met a lot of people. We actually met Colonel Cooper.
Okay.
We would go into a cabin to see Dave, and lo and behold, there's Colonel Cooper sitting there hanging out.
That was neat.
Yeah, super cool.
Yeah,
super cool. So, do you use any rechargeable stuff?
I do. So I'm a fan of all the lumens and all the candelas, and the only way we're going to get that is with the 18350s and 650 type batteries. I think even with the dual fuel stuff, if you put a regular non-rechargeable 123 in there, you get less power. So I am, like I said, I've got some cloud defensive lights, I've got some mod lights, and even the Surefire rechargeable stuff, and I'm a big fan of it. You got to invest in it up front, like anything, but
just like power tools, though.
Yeah, power tools. Just keep them charged. I keep spares with me, and when I get home, or I got a charger I have. If I need to, I can charge stuff up in the hotel room, or even plug it into the truck when I'm driving down the interstate, and just recharge batteries. But if you've got spares, you just rotate them in.
You think Surefire is still the peak of the industry?
They're always, they're the top dog.
They're the monster.
Yeah. Streamlight, I've heard it said that Streamlight kind of owns the law enforcement market, and it's mostly because of price.
Okay.
But as far as,
some of them small companies can maneuver a little bit quicker, though.
Yeah. You have Cloud Defensive and Mod Light that make amazing products, but, Surefire's just been around for so long. It's
so what's in my pocket, Surefire.
Yeah, you've probably been to their place, seen their manufacturing and stuff. It's one of the coolest manufacturing places I've ever seen. It's like you could drop your sandwich on the floor and feel fine about picking it up and eating it.
Yeah,
it's that kind of place.
I met John Matthews a couple times. He came down to the shop to do a couple projects, and we didn't talk any flashlight.
Yeah,
he wanted to do wheelies. He was making some pegs for the back of his dual sport bikes, just so he could he was there 3 hours, and we talked about was him doing wheelies on his motorcycle.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I was like, I got a tour of it. one time, and I could just stand there and watch the machines make stuff. So it was like standing this machine was making X300 bodies, and it was like,
yeah, it's all auto
thing.
now.
They're coming through, and then they're being machined, and then it's just like spitting them out like a hen laying eggs.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that is cool.
Yep.
Like,
yeah, that guy's just there in case that machine makes a loud
yeah.
sound.
Yeah, and to make sure that it doesn't run out of
Material,
aluminum.
yeah. That's wild.
Yeah, I mean, but guys walking around in like lab coats, and it's like, wow, this place is.
So, what application do you think today for the normal U.S. citizen, like just the guy interested in shooting and stuff? I think people are waking up. They're growing food. They know that the situation, the environment in the United States, political, is an absolute mess. We've got a bunch of people coming across the border that should not be here. Maybe even combatants at some point in the future. So if the average dude who has kind of woke up or been into the hobby for the last decade or so, what do you think the application for that normal dude is for night vision and what you provide?
Yeah. So and I get that question a lot. And first of all, I like to remind people that first of all, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's like I said, we shoot because we like to shoot. It's fun. To answer the question other ways, a lot of my guys, alumni, that's their thing. Some guys have bass boats, some guys play golf.
Absolutely.
Some guys like to shoot. Some guys like to shoot with night vision. It's also a superpower for guys with good credit scores, by the way. But it is kind of a thing where it's like, if the reason you are into shooting, or one of the reasons you're into shooting, is because you want to be self-reliant and just have that ability, then night vision gives you that ability 24 hours a day now. So it's all the same. It just extends the hours of the day that you can, be vigilant, is probably a good way to put it. So any other reason that you would want your rifle, I think it applies.
Got it.
And I 100% believe that's what the Second Amendment was about. Guys should be allowed to do any of that stuff they want to do. There are way too many infringements.
So like bug out bags and stuff like that, we know a ton of guys. If you look in any of our friends' vehicles, I mean, there's a whole loadout in there usually. How many of those dudes do you think are running around typically with night vision and stuff like that?
I'd say the majority of my Night Fighter alumni probably are, because they know if they ever run into me and I'm like, hey, you brought your nods, right? I'm be like,
right.
What kind of Night Fighter are you? You don't have your nods with you.
Right.
So
it's a culture that you can even belong to now.
Oh, yeah.
You have like Night Fighter. You're the Night Fighter.
Yeah. It's kind of a tribe, and I encourage that. And, we have a good group of alumni, and, the whole night vision community it's a very small niche within the shooting community, I think.
I think it's rapidly growing.
It's growing, yeah. It's
hugely
growing. It's growing like crazy, but it's still, compared to the rest of the shooting world, it's still small.
But I mean, you've been to SHOT Show.
Every year.
We're not interested in but 5% of SHOT Show, if that, and that's probably being generous.
Yeah.
And that's how the whole shooting community. You go to the NRA show, most of it you have no interest in what's at the NRA show.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's all one big community.
Sure.
I mean, I don't like the little cliques and infight. I mean, there could be cliques, like we're into this and we're into that, but I don't like calling people FUD and this and all that stuff.
Absolutely, man. The powers that be have done a very good job at dividing us further, right?
Yeah.
Like when I don't even know if the bump stock is still an issue or a thing, but who was going to tell on a man for having a bump stock? Somebody who knew he had it, who he went shooting with, somebody that looks like him, loves his family, probably has the same stickers on the back of his truck. It's not some whack liberal that's going to report you for having something that you should not, or they say you shouldn't have any longer. It's somebody just like yourself.
Yeah.
And they have done a really good job at further dividing us. It used to be race, and then it was sexual preference or religion or white collar, blue collar. It's not any of that anymore. Like they are so far, they have taken every group in power and further divided it,
subdivided.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think it's the social media that has allowed that to happen at a rapid pace.
Yeah, it's made it real easy for that.
Yeah, I got involved. I mean, I made a lot of money off of negativity on the internet, and
you
and looking back at it, there were very successful businessmen that behind the scenes were like, hey man, you know, you're going to catch more flies with honey than, you know, shit. And
you're like, I got more flies than
I know what I'm doing.
with.
Yeah. And looking back, I told some dudes that I would really like to be friendly with now to fuck off in the old days, you know? And people ask me all the time about different companies. I'm like, I've never met them, but I'd like to be friends with them. Like, I want to be friends with everybody in the industry. If I find myself, if I go back, if I saw something that I was even in the negative path with, and I find myself going back to it on social media, we won't participate in that. It's almost more important nowadays to remove negativity than it even is to add positivity.
Yeah.
And especially as we
That's
grow
a good way
up.
to put it. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially as we get older.
Yeah. I mean, I've had a saying for a while that I'd rather have a friend than an enemy, especially when it comes to the business and work and industry stuff. And, you know, even if we can't be best friends and do stuff together, let's at least get along and not try to tear each other down.
Yeah,
you know,
the whole 1911 Glock 19.
Yeah,
absolutely insane.
I mean, sometimes it's fun as long as everybody stays fun and doesn't get their feelings hurt.
Yeah, at least the guy likes guns.
Yeah,
yeah, no doubt. That's still good for business, good for industry, good for friendships.
You know, we may be. I mean, shoot, you know what a lot of people don't realize is most of the guys that, you know, are trainers that do what I do, we're all either friends or at least kind of know each other or somewhere in between. You know.
Well, everybody talks.
Yeah, you know, even if, you know, there's little behind the scenes, you know, group, you know, Facebook chats and stuff like that, you know, a lot of us know each other, or one or two steps away, you know, like, hey man, can you reach out to so and so for me? I want to talk to them about this or whatever, and you know, it doesn't really. I feel like it's no big deal, and every once in a while I run across the students like, wow, you're friends with Chris Costa? I'm like, yeah.
Chris comes here all the time.
Yeah, you know, kind of thing. Yeah, like, yeah, we're teaching a class together in October. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
You know,
I built a rifle case yesterday for Chris.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Chris.
Cool.
Chris is here frequently.
Yeah. Yeah, I like Chris. He's kind of intense.
We don't even talk guns. Like, I don't think I've ever spoken any like shooting stuff with Chris.
I don't know. Yeah, except for when we were planning our class.
Yeah.
But
get him talking about by the way, conspiracy theories. I believe all of them.
Yeah,
every one of them. And like, get Chris talking on that. Holy shit!
I mean, they're all kind of coming true. It's like maybe it's not that far of a stretch.
Yeah. Well, the CIA coined that whole term,
conspiracy theory.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they created that.
Yeah, to try to discount. Yeah.
So for a guy getting into night vision, he's got his AR. He's got some kind of red dot or something so that he can aim with his night vision. He needs a helmet to hold that night vision.
So you need a helmet. It's a system kind of setup, so you need a way to. It's designed to be head worn. So a helmet's the way to go. A lot of guys want to use some of the nightcap type devices, and that go on your head. That
I saw a cool like nylon one.
There's
recently.
A few out there.
Yeah.
The downside to those is if you're doing very much movement and like running and gunning and stuff like that, they're not as stable as a helmet. They're great if you're just kind of casual use and you want to take your helmet off and put that on, because you still want to have your night vision on. But I wouldn't, recommend it in a class type environment if you're out shooting on the range and stuff like that. Just it's not as stable. But the helmet, and then your goggle night vision device specifically, and then there's a piece of the puzzle called the mount, which is they used to call it the Rhino mount. That it goes onto your helmet, and then your NVG attaches to that. That's a key part that.
So not the Willcox, not the pivot, but the actual shroud that it slides into.
No, I'm talking about the pivot though. Like you just said, Willcox. That's one of the top brands of the Willcox G24 is what most of us.
Jim Tietzel flew us out to Portsmouth, New Hampshire. We had he had tied in with Tokyo Maru. Ashiro Nagata was a gun photographer.
Okay.
And they were doing an airsoft, a Mark 26 or a Mark 23 Mod 0. And Willcox had done that laser for it. And we built 1,000 holsters. And then they flew us out to Portsmouth, New Hampshire, because we could get a LAR-5. So my buddy from SOTG got a LAR-5. We flew out there and did a photo shoot in the pool. And when we got there, they had taken over a bank building on a Navy base. They had given Willcox at the time. And we walk in, And Mitch Rawson was in the lobby, and they were just sitting there smoking cigars. Rawson leather.
Oh, leather. Okay.
And he goes, let me tell you, boys. He goes, let me give you a piece of advice. He goes, I only advertise one place. That's Cigar Aficionado magazine, and it's $100,000 a month. But all of my customers buy shark skin holsters, and like those are like some really big dudes.
Yeah.
And when we had walked in, there's a vault to the side, and the doors open. It's just all machine guns. It's like something out of a John Wick movie or something in there. But that was my first introduction and first interaction with Willcox Industries.
Cool.
Yeah,
cool.
They were just they were on the cover of magazines, and they were doing a SIG 226 that the Navy had or something, and it had all these buttons in the grip and shit, and had an integrated laser and everything.
All right.
Long before they were making shrouds and stuff.
Yeah.
And then Scully's buddy was the vice president or CEO for quite a while over there.
Okay.
And, like, they had done all kinds of aircraft stuff, and Trump had flown into town and had a meeting, and he's like, I want to meet all the employees, and he brought all the McDonald's in and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's cool. Yeah. Yeah.
So the shroud.
So the shroud is the plate that's bolted to the front of the helmet. Then you need the mount, which is basically we're talking about the Willcox mount or whatever. And then so it's the helmet with the shroud, the mount, and the goggle or MBG.
And some kind of cool retention thing in case it falls off or something.
That's a great idea. It's cheap insurance. And then on the rifle, you need a laser. You need a weapon aiming laser, laser aiming module, whatever.
Or
you call
a
it.
red dot.
Well, I still say the lasers are primary, and your red dot is secondary, because it also doubles as your illuminator. So a good laser aiming module that you would put on a rifle, for example, let's say the Maul, which is what we use mostly, it has a built-in infrared laser, a built-in visible laser, and infrared illuminator. So we like having all three of those in one package.
And those are all going to be green lasers? That's going to be green?
The Maul has a green vis laser. Like your PEC 15s and stuff like that have red. Red's more common, but green's starting to kind of move its way in because it's brighter during the daytime.
Okay.
So if you need a vis laser during the daytime, you can see green in the middle of the afternoon a little bit better than you can red.
Okay.
But that'll all be IR. The other parts will be infrared, because you still need to be able to see into those dark areas. We call them photonic barriers and stuff like that. So, and we still use the laser as our primary. And then the passive aiming, as I say, or shooting through the tube, is more of a, if I think I need, or if I think maybe my opponent may have night vision, I don't want to use my laser as much. I don't want to telegraph myself, or sometimes I recommend it for like a more precision shot. If you can see what you need to see, but a lot of times that laser and illuminator combo is what you need to positively identify also, because you know how it is. You're looking through night vision. What is that in his hands over there? Turn on a laser or turn on an illuminator of some sort. It's like, oh, okay, it's just a book. He's carrying a Bible, not a gun.
Got it.
At 2 a.m. in the field. It's not suspicious at all.
Right. Right. How many bad guys do you come up against nowadays that actually have night vision?
I don't know. I've been out of the game for real for a while. It's been a little bit since I've spoken with somebody that's been downrange a lot. But last time I did, they were I hadn't heard of them coming across guys fighting with it, but they're finding it on objectives and in caches and stuff. If you look over in Ukraine, everybody's got it.
That was my next question.
Places like that. So it's a more European type of warfare. So it's everywhere. It's not like it's a secret anymore.
Is it pretty durable out in the field, or is it expire pretty fast with lack of maintenance?
Well, with lack of maintenance, there's a good chance that it's not gonna. It depends on how well you take care of it. But one of the things I tell people is like this stuff was made to be issued out to 18-year-old infantrymen.
Right.
So it's kind of rugged.
So what kind of maintenance comes with those? Like I don't recall ever, I have night vision, but I've never maintained it in any manner.
Yeah, really, it's like anything else that you would have that's like a scope or maybe a camera, video camera or something. Just visually check it, make sure it's, doesn't have any cracks or breaks in it. Check the lenses, make sure nothing's chipped or cracked. Clean it like you would any scope or camera lens or something like that. Don't use abrasives, don't use chemicals, things like that. Another thing we recommend is if you're putting it away for a while, take the batteries out.
Yeah, I've had batteries rot out inside of them. Yeah.
Right. Now, mostly, if you're using lithium batteries, it's not that much of a problem.
Yeah, they don't
not
seem to off-gas
right,
nearly.
but alkaline batteries will ruin. And forever and ever, we used alkaline AA's and PVS 14s, and a leaky battery can cause you $300 to $400 worth of repairs. It can be fixed, but more likely than not, that whole power supply where the battery goes in will need to be replaced, because once it gets corrosion on it, it's never going to be the same. You can clean it, but you're going to always have to worry about it. And then the cost. So the cost of the part plus installation and all that stuff, you're looking at $300 to $400, I think, for the price of a 50-cent battery.
Are those things nitrogen purged or anything?
Yeah.
Gas. So you obviously don't want to unthread.
You don't want to start taking it apart yourself.
Why do they even allow you? Like, shouldn't there be like a set screw or something that keeps you from doing that?
There should be, right?
Let the magic smoke out.
Yeah. And the nitrogen purge is, and I don't know if it always stays in there, but the purge machines that we had when I was at TMBC, and they probably have nicer ones now, but it also helps you see if it's sealed well. So it's got a meter, and you want to make sure that it stays at a certain level for a certain amount of time when you pressurize it. So that makes sure that it was assembled right and there's no leaks. And then it's also purging out any moisture that was in the ambient air when it was being built. So just make sure that it started out dry and it's probably going to stay dry. And usually you don't have to get it repurged. I think the military has a maintenance schedule where they do it ever so often, whether it's once a year or whatever. But for the average guy, unless you start to have problems, it's probably fine. If you start to see fogging up inside, it's obviously on the inside of your lens, then yeah, I would find a guy that does repairs or something like that. That's one of the cool things about TMBC where I used to work. They've got a lifetime warranty on a lot of their goggles that they build in-house. So if you start having issues, you can send it back in, and they'll get it fixed.
That's cool. How so? What about the difference between night vision and thermal?
Okay, well, they go hand in hand. They're like peanut butter and jelly, if you will. Thermal sees a different part of the spectrum, basically heat. It's still infrared, but it's further down the spectrum. And what we generally say is thermal is better at target detection than it is identification, versus night vision is better at seeing detail, but you can stand behind a bush and not be seen. So they work really well together. If especially if you're in a rural environment, like say we used to when I wasn't so busy on the road, we had more time to go hog hunting. And I was just texting with my buddy John on the way in here about hunting and stuff, and he had some thermal questions. We'd walk around with our nods on, and that's how we got from point A to point B. But we'd stop and we'd scan with a handheld thermal, and you'd pick up those heat signatures out there, and then be like, okay, are those pigs? Are those deer? Let's maneuver around and see what we can get. And then if it was time to shoot, we would use our lasers and our nods. But the thermal was like, you might not even see those out there if you didn't have thermal.
So we can't identify. Can we easily identify? We can't identify between thermal if it's a deer or a pig.
It depends. But when I say that, I'm talking about like identify you versus me.
Right.
That.
But if we're
the details.
But if we're hog hunting, we don't have to identify what hog that is.
No. I'd say the guys that have probably the biggest responsibility are like coyote hunters, where they make sure it's not
somebody's dog. Got it.
But those guys are usually more experienced and stuff like that. But no, I'm talking more of like a human type of tactical environment.
So really, you need to have both.
They both complement each other anyway, because you don't really want to navigate and walk around with thermal. It doesn't give you the depth perception. You're not going to see that micro terrain. So you're walking down a dirt road and you step in a rut.
So our thermal is basically going to be handheld most of the time.
I like it that way.
Okay.
Yeah. That way, or weapon mounted if you got a thermal scope or something. That's just the only problem is there. You got to shoulder the gun and use that to scan out in the field or whatever. Plenty of guys use their rifle scope instead of binoculars anyway. So, I don't know if that's a big deal or not.
When are they going to merge the two?
They have. There are fusion goggles. The current hotness right now is a device called a Cody, the clip-on thermal imager, and it clips onto your either PVS 14 or your duals, and it overlays a thermal image, and that's that's really like the Marines. They fielded a whole new program, and for all the infantry guys, they're getting one of those with their 31s.
What's that thing cost?
Retail, I'm going to say it's around 9 or 10,000.
Holy shit!
Yeah, it's the thermal, a little bit bigger than a Bic lighter. But the thing is, it's a one trick pony. It's awesome stuff. But it's like, well, it does one thing. It does it really cool, really well, but you can't take it off and look through it. It's got a little viewfinder that you can get, and I haven't used it from what I'm told. It's really, not that great. You wouldn't want it to be your main thermal. But no, it's pretty awesome. Not gonna lie.
What about the camera systems? Like, how far are those from being like? You always see those. I don't know. I see them on targeted marketing on Facebook or something, and you're like, holy cow, this thing's like $400.
Yeah, I mean, there's some low. They're really low light cameras, right? They're putting it out as night vision or digital night vision and stuff like that. It's getting better, but it's not to the point where it's going to replace it. Especially on a headborne type of setup.
Got it. What about a scrim on a helmet? Like the little cloth things.
Those are getting popular. We're coming all the way back around to
I just forgot to ask that. I meant to ask.
Like 1989, we wore those.
Well, you have because you have Dirty Civilian. There's a YouTube channel that was part of the crew, I believe, that was over there with T-Rex Arms.
Okay.
So they do all this super cool, like, I'm just two dudes, and what motorcycle would I have for End of the World, and what night vision?
Yeah.
So they're always throwing, and I watch their videos. They're so well produced. I watch all that stuff, and that was one of the things they had mentioned.
They put a scrim.
Yeah,
I didn't even know it was called a scrim.
There's a bunch of companies that are building these things.
Yeah, so it must be 1989 again, because we took camo netting and tied strips of BDU. Well, it's BDU.
Yep.
And it had to be a certain way. When we went into Panama, we had those on our helmets.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't to hide. It was so that we could identify each other. It's like we're the only dudes looked like had the Predator dreadlocks on our helmets. So if somebody else was, because back then we wore Woodland, and so did our opponent.
Oh, okay.
So you think about the Panamanian Defense Force guys also wore M81.
Yep.
So it's like, okay, if they have a helmet on too, we look a lot alike. So at the time we didn't realize that's what it was for, but it's so that we could identify each other. Because when the 82nd guys showed up, they had it on. When the 7th ID guys showed up, they had it on. It was like, oh, okay, we all look the same. Don't shoot the guys with the dreadlocks on their helmets.
So what do you do nowadays for IFF, for Identify Friend Foe?
Well, uniforms are probably the primary, and then the IR. IR reflective patches and strobes and stuff like that. But I'm sure now that you have, two groups of people, like use Ukraine as an example, they're all kind of dressed and maybe using a lot of the same equipment too. So I don't know. I'm sure that's a bit of a challenge.
Have you had any? Have you seen so they got the chem lights, right? The normal chem lights and the IR chem lights. Have you seen the little cartridge? It's like a little magazine that has these little micros.
Blue Force Gear.
Is that who makes those?
Yeah. They're called Marcos.
Okay.
Yeah, it has the little baby chem lights in it. You just gotta. Yeah, I have some. They're expensive.
Yeah.
And the way I look at it is, if you need that, then Uncle Sugar's probably buying it for you, or somebody's buying it for you. Because the average dude, you don't need those. Sorry, Blue Force Gear, but they probably sell everyone they make under some government contract anyway.
Yeah.
But they're pretty cool. It's a flex. You can hang it on your belt, and I got Marcos.
Got it. What do most of your students show up with body armor?
50-50. I tell them they don't need to wear it. I don't care what they wear as long as they have what they need to train. So a lot of guys will take classes with a battle belt of some sort, because that's kind of practical for the average guy anyways. If he's going to have that, grab and go set, he may just have a belt that has, 2 pistol, 2 rifle, an IFAK, and a holster and all that. Some guys wear full kit. It just depends. It's up to them. I encourage, like, if I do have law enforcement guys and guys that are on tactical teams that will show up to class, I'm like, well, you probably want to train in your stuff at least part of the time. But I also tell them, look, you're here to learn. And if the gear is hindering your learning process, then take that crap off. Listen to what I'm saying.
Well, it's because they haven't wore the gear long enough to be, second nature.
Yeah. Or it just gets, we train all night. So it's 2 a.m. and you're worn out because you've been running around in full kit all night. It's like
It just means he needs to run around a lot more.
Well, yeah, that too. But it's like you're not hearing the words and processing the information.
Yeah.
Because one of the things I say about Night Fighter all the time is it's not a shooting course.
Mm-hmm.
It's a night vision course, but we shoot a lot.
Yeah, that's what Scully always said about Marine Scout snipers.
Yeah.
Less than 10% of it's the shooting.
Yeah, yeah. So we're going to shoot a lot, but we're here to learn how to integrate this technology into what you already know how to do during the day. So that's another reason why I expect them to show up with a certain level of skill and also experience. And by experience, I mean as a student.
Mm-hmm.
Your first formal group training course should not be at night
vision
while wearing nods, and sometimes I get guys, well, I've been shooting all my life and I go out with my friends. It's like, yeah, but you've never been on the line with a dude saying load, make, ready, and ready up and stuff like that. You're kind of out of your element. It's better if you've done this a bit. It's like a progression, and that's one of the things that I observed maybe a year or so ago, and I haven't seen it quite as much lately, is there was a time frame where guys were buying their night vision and stuff like that and then getting into shooting. Like, you're kind of doing this backwards, buddy. The rest of us kind of were like bored with the daytime shooting, and then what's next? Night vision.
That's because everybody had already done all the gun stuff. Like, you get young guys coming up through the video game stuff, especially like Call of Duty and everything. So they see all that cool stuff, and a lot of those kids are computer kids and kind of like nerds. So they buy that night vision first, and then they're like, well, I guess I should buy a gun.
I got to get a rifle for it now.
They bought the tech stuff first.
Yeah. And, some of the advice is, hey, get that rifle and go take some daytime, take fighting rifle and stuff like that, so that, when you show up, you're a shooter.
You could take the exact same class 5 times, and it's a different class every time. We especially saw that, like, my wife and my kids taking fighting pistol. Like, Amanda's taken fighting pistol probably 6 times. Took it in the winter, took it in the summer, and then, like, I used to watch Dr. Sherman House all the time.
Oh, I love that guy.
Yeah, great dude. Good friend of mine. And when I got here to TAC Response, the kids went out and took a fighting rifle class, and everybody's jocked up and you need all this gear and stuff. But then you look at Sherman out there taking the class, and he's running an AK with a mag in each of his back pockets, one in the gun, and he's just smoking everything out there.
Yeah.
And it's just because you've already done, you're now comfortable, you know the techniques, you know what you're doing, and now it's not about the gear, and you're also familiar enough with the gear that it's just second nature.
Yeah.
And it's the exact same curriculum, but it's now a different class for you. Yeah.
I've got guys that have taken Night Fighter multiple times, and sometimes I'll hear them like after the second time or maybe even the third time. It's like, oh man, I think I got it now.
Yep, it clicked. Yeah.
Like, are you serious?
It's just like form in the gym, man. You go in there the first few times and you're figuring that out. And sometimes you'll do something and then you'll just watch another dude do it, and it flows, you just see his form, his technique, whatever.
Like, dude, how'd you do that?
Yep. Okay. Yes, and sometimes that's all it takes. Yeah. So how does the helicopter get involved? How did that happen?
So that's a good question.
I mean, that's pretty, like, that's badass. Like,
I'm not gonna lie.
Little bird?
I'm not gonna lie. It worked out pretty cool. I mean, like, I'm in my 50s and I figured out how to still fly around on little birds and shoot guns.
Yeah.
So Paul Barth is a guy that owns a company called Airborne Tactical Training Solutions. He and I have known each other for a long, long time, just doing media type events and stuff like that. And we've always and I've even supported other friends of mine when I was at TMBC that were doing stuff with him and things of that nature. And just for the past several years, every time we run into each other, it's been like, hey, we need to start doing stuff together. We need to get these, class things going again and things like that. And just finally, I'd say about a year and a half or so ago, maybe almost 2 years, we're like, screw it, let's go, let's do it. And we did the first one here in Camden at Birdsong, the first official Green Line and Airborne Tactical aerial target engagement class, and it was great, and it's super popular. And then we started doing the night vision. We call it ATE, aerial target engagement, and then night aerial target engagement. And I've yet to have anybody use a white light to do it, but I would definitely take my night one and use a high powered flashlight. It'd be cool as shit too. And it just kind of it's kind of evolved. It was something we've been discussing for a while, and he likes working with us, and we like working with him. Sam Houston, who does a lot of stuff with me, does a little bit of crew stuff for him as well, because he's an old Navy aviator and whatnot. So we just kind of formed that relationship. And
is that his full-time job?
What's that?
Just flying that helicopter around?
Oh, he owns several. He owns two Little Birds. He owns an older one that's a MD-500, the round bubble front, and that the one that we use all the time is a 530. He's got two A-Stars and stuff. So he's been flying for years and years. He used to fly in the.
So you can put a lot more people in the A-Star.
Yeah, it's bigger.
Yeah, that's what we flew in Vegas when you go out to do the tours and stuff.
Yep.
How many guys can you put on that Little Bird?
We put 4. So we have benches on. He has benches on the outside. So we put 2 on each side.
Are those the same thing CAG currently still runs?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and
so you can put 4 shooters on target out of that bird.
Well, I put 2 shooters and 2 instructors.
Okay, but in the real world,
right?
4 guys are unassed in that vehicle.
Yeah.
Really?
But the way we do it is we'll have 1 shooter and 1 instructor on each side.
Okay.
So I'm sitting next to you. You're sitting on the leading edge, basically, and at daytime I'm pointing to your targets and telling you, okay, it's making sure you're good on the range fans and stuff like that. At nighttime, I'll use some sort of laser to designate it for you, and then you can engage it. And we put steel targets out, like out of Birdsong. We had them all around the cars and all that stuff out there on the contractor range.
They firing tracers or?
No, I don't think I had anybody using tracers, but just regular.
Are tracers readily available? Like, can a civilian just buy tracers?
I don't know.
I wonder. We used to see them all the time, but I haven't seen tracers.
Yeah,
you
used to kind of see them at gun shows and stuff, and I can't remember the last time I was at a gun show. I wouldn't recommend it just because of the fire dangers and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've seen that.
I don't know that the juice is worth the squeeze. It's going to wear your barrel out faster because of the heat. And all that
I remember
stuff.
them bringing. We were out there and had the range on fire. They brought a tanker in to put the fire.
Oh wow, out at Birdsong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at a contractor class.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know they scorch it all the time.
Oh yeah, no, that motherfucker's on fire.
Yeah,
Real on fire. Yeah.
Well, it needs to get burned every once in a while just to clear out all the crap and to find the stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt.
Burn it in your face. Oh, that's where all that steel targets.
So when what do you lanyard them in with? Are they wearing full body?
They're
harnesses?
wearing a seatbelt.
Oh, just a seatbelt.
It's an FAA certified seatbelt, and then we wear like personal retention lanyard because we're getting on and off.
Do you fabricate those or do you buy those?
The lanyards?
Mm-hmm.
They're just ones that I've had since back in the day.
They got like bungee in them.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I probably need to. You make any of those?
Hell no.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't want the liability of that shit.
I was gonna say I could
we
use,
have made
I could
them.
use some extras. But,
yeah, we have made them. I know, like Tag had. There was a bunch of companies that had them.
Yeah. We get on and off all the time, so we clip in and clip. Need to be a little bit more mobile, but the students are seat belted in.
What's one of those helicopters cost if a man wanted to buy one of those?
I have no idea. More than I can afford.
Yeah. And then they put it on a trailer here?
He did to come up here, but had some complications going home. So we're kind of restricted to the southeast.
Okay.
Where as far as like a decent flying distance, we've got a place outside of Savannah that we're starting to do most of our stuff because it's a really cool property. And there's some on-site lodging available. There's a shooting range. There's an old golf course that we put.
Wow, that's cool.
So we're flying over the golf course. I got targets in the fairway and stuff like that. Is pretty cool.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
What's it? How long is that class?
It's 2 days. So the first day we spend time doing like ground school stuff because I'll back up a little bit. He's one of the only guys that's certified for you to fly on benches outside. But the caveat there is you have to be a crew member.
So we have to
go through all that stuff. So there's a lot of safety, a lot of familiarization, stuff like that on the first day, and then we hit the range because there's some gun handling nuances, if you will, about being around helicopters. Don't reload with the muzzle pointed up because we got this big fan that keeps us in the air up there. You don't want to shoot it, and then also be careful down because you got your toes hanging down there too. So just we go over some of that. Not a lot on the range, and that's kind of day one, and then day two is the flights, and you get basically 2 approximately 10-minute runs, flights, and and stuff, and we'll get you as many target exposures as possible in the amount of time we have. So.
Can you arm those helicopters? Does he have any armed helicopters?
I don't think he does. I mean, he's just a private civilian, but I mean, if he does, I don't know about it.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
Like, we used to do the Glorieta Bay demos for the 4th of July with the SEAL teams.
Yeah.
And they would come in with the Blackhawks, and when they would just firing blanks, man, out of those guns, like there's no feeling like that being under that helicopter when it's firing. And it's just incredible.
The Army's one, the 160th Little Birds, they have rockets and miniguns.
Yeah, no doubt
on them. So I don't even think I could afford the ammo for a minigun on those. You know.
Now, you guys had a guy out there that had a minigun.
Yeah, we have a student that has a pretty cool collection of machine guns, and he usually brings his shorty saw to shoot from the helicopter, but he had it out there. I think he just kind of show and tell, or maybe he just picked it up from the shop and he was on the road or something like that. But he's got a suppressed minigun.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Have you ever been in a helicopter that had any problems?
Not really. Well, I've had one where we had to land and kind of do some repairs. Yeah, I mean, it didn't crash or anything, but it was kind of like we had to land in a field. This is a long, long time ago, back when I was in the Rangers. We had to land in some farmer's field and then guard it for a while, and then they brought another helicopter out to pick us up.
Did the farmer show up?
Yeah, he came out and we're like, hey, I think the pilots and all that kind of talked to him and stuff. But,
that's cool. I'd want to crawl around in it.
Yeah, I'd be like, wow.
Yeah, can we shoot this?
Yeah, can we fly around?
Yeah.
Can you give me a ride? Well, no, that's why we had to land here. We can't fly it.
Right. So what's new? What do you got going on? Like, what do you?
Oh man, this is the tail end of about a 2.5 week long road trip. So, but it's been busy. Got something going on most weekends, it seems like these days. The biggest thing that I'm doing these days over as far as training goes is a thing called the Night Operations Summit. I don't know if you've heard about that.
I think I have. Yeah. Where is it?
This year it's going to be in Dilley, Texas, about an hour south of San Antonio, at a place called the Ranch. You're familiar with ITI?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they used to have a place down there, and they built it so it's got a driving track and stuff like that. But it's purpose built for a training facility. I actually think that Blackwater owned it for a little while too.
Okay.
The new owner has been bringing it back to life. It sat fallow for about 4 or 5 years, I think, and it's pretty epic. This will be the 3rd annual one. So I've got a list of sponsors, corporate, industry stuff. TMDC is going to be my title sponsor this year, but B.E. Myers, Ops Corps, several gun companies, all the usual suspects that you'd either see me associated with or night vision type related people. And it's one of those symposium style training events. It's 3 nights, 3 days and nights. And so you pick 3 basically out of a total of 7 different offerings. And we usually get about 100 people.
It's cool.
Plus all the sponsors and everything like that. During the day, we'll have like TED Talks and lectures about all kinds of stuff. Get more industry involvement in that type of, that stuff too. So it's really a good time. It's more of like Ozfest with night vision goggles.
Yeah, it sounds like the old Spec War conventions and stuff.
Yeah,
they used to have in San Diego.
Yeah, it's really cool. So it's, there's the range day weekend kind of events are getting really, they're gaining a lot more traction because I think guys are, where can I get the most bang for the buck? They want to go shoot. Money's tight. So if I go to this, range weekend kind of thing, I can train with maybe a couple different, 2 or 3 different guys, and for about the same price.
Yeah.
But, so this is 3 days and nights, a lot of bourbon and cigars.
Plus have exposure to a lot of vendors. Like all that equipment is in one place.
Oh, yeah. And they all bring stuff to sell. So, and that's what I tell them. I was like, hey, the guys in the night vision, they use your stuff already. They want to see what the latest and greatest is. And if they can buy it from you, they will.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of guys will wait. They're like, yeah, I want to see this. And hopefully they bring that. Audi gear.
Mm-hmm.
The first year we did it, it was freezing cold the first night.
So they sold a bunch of jackets.
He sold every jacket that he brought.
Yeah,
he had all those nice warm, poofy jackets, and he sold out. Like
I
in 5
bought a
minutes.
bunch of his stuff at SHOT Show one year. He had racks of stuff for sale.
Yeah. Oh, dude, it's the warmest jacket I've ever had. And he literally they couldn't get them out of the boxes fast enough. People were, like throwing money at them. Give me that jacket. I'm
Yeah.
cold. You know, so little things like that. Just but it's super fun. We'll have campfire at night and hang out around there, and cigars and drinks and food trucks.
Yeah. That's cool.
So it's awesome.
We're gonna have our SOE compound party July 13th.
Okay, is that during the same time as alumni weekend?
It is.
Yeah, man. That weekend, I'm in Colorado teaching.
Got it.
When they announced what weekend it was going to be, I was like, crap.
Yeah.
That's the problem. I have to plan so far in advance.
No, I understand.
And usually I'm almost always here for alumni. So
yeah, this one was kind of on the fly. We haven't done one for a couple of years. I wanted to push everything into James while he was there.
Yeah.
And so we didn't do any party for a couple of years.
Okay.
And then we've been doing Self-Reliance Festival, which is more homesteading and business development and social media stuff.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. Our big one will be in October this year. We just had one.
October? I'll have to check the dates.
Yeah, big one will be October.
Yeah, October's when we call night fighter season starts to get ramped up because it's getting dark early. But I was in town for the last one that you had, but I was here to teach. Didn't know anything about yours.
Yeah, Lewis failed on that. You should have drug your ass over here.
Yeah. So, but no, it looked really cool.
Yeah.
I didn't realize I'd seen stuff on social media, and I guess I didn't connect the dots and realize that was yours. Because I knew there was something, and I didn't realize it was here, and I didn't realize it was your event. I was like, this is cool.
Yeah, it started as a party. Like during COVID, we just quietly said, hey, we're going to have a get together. And we didn't, no machine guns or nothing, just show up if you want to show up. And like 200 people showed up. And like, holy shit, I don't have food trucks. I don't have nothing here.
Yeah.
And they're like, we just want to see the rabbits. We want to see the aquaponics. We want to see the greenhouse. And Nicole.
So it wasn't even kind of a
on purpose
prepper kind of thing. It was
just kind of, not at all.
But the preppers are the ones that showed up.
Yeah.
Sweet.
And well, the guys that just and I think they're more apt to be like, yeah, we're not doing this nonsense. Like we're not wearing masks and doing all this bullshit. And Nicole, we were co-branding a coffee. She does a boutique roasting. Like when you order coffee from Holler Roast, she roasts it right then and then ships it to you. So you've never had anything like it.
Never had anything that
and
fresh.
She said, she goes, what do you think? I go, man, there really seems to be people are kind of hungry for this. And she'd been doing events at her place and poultry processing and stuff. And she was involved in Jack Spirko's The Survival Podcast get together. And I go, I think there's something to this. We should probably do something. And she says, how involved do you want to be? I said, well, I want you to do all the work and I'll just take the credit for it. And it really is hers. It's her thing. It just kind of happens here.
Yeah.
But it's good, man. Like we've had Joel Salatin came out, Billy Bond,
sweet.
William Bond. Yeah, like dudes that you're watching on Rogan, and then I get to actually meet them and walk around for hours with them.
Show them your place.
I'm like, okay, how fucked up am I? Like, take the kid gloves off. What do you see?
Imagine you've got your own little hobby farm going on, and Joel Salatin comes up.
Yep.
And you're like,
And they see it at the worst possible time. Like everything's dead because of the season and everything. So you see every scar on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's like just terrifying that the godfather of everything permaculture is going to be here.
Mr. Polyface himself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But super cool, man. He just real nice man. I've met him a couple times.
I bet. He seems cool.
Yeah, he's exactly how he is on video.
That's neat.
Yep. So you're doing the class here this weekend.
Yeah. Designated marksman, SPR type class. Been on the road, just came from Montana teaching a red dot pistol class. Prior to that, I was in Las Vegas teaching a night vision shoot house class. So
where do you live?
Florida.
So
I'm making my way back to Florida.
Do you like Florida? Is that your choice?
It's where I ended up, and that's where my wife and her family live and all that. Okay. So it's a good place. I live in Jacksonville, so it's you're still in the South, just kind of Georgia, Alabama vibe, but it's Florida.
If you had to live somewhere else, what state would you pick?
Man, I don't know. There's a lot of great places. I don't know. I've even thought, I love it here. This is like a second home for me and has been for years and years. I got good friends out in Montana. I love it out there. I don't know. I don't have an answer for you on that one.
Okay. Yeah, people they ask me that all the time, and I don't have an answer either.
And because I'm on the road a lot, I see a lot of cool places, and I'm always thinking, man, I could live here. I could live here. And so it's like, I don't know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Who do you want to work with that you haven't worked with?
Let's think here. I'm excited to do this class for the first time with Costa.
Yeah.
That's coming up.
Have you met
So,
Chris?
oh, we're friends, but
Yeah.
we've never taught together. So we're actually going to be on the range together in October or late September, I think.
You doing skydiving stuff?
No, man, I don't have time for hobbies.
Yeah.
It's a good thing I love what I do, and
There's a
shooting.
lot of night vision shit with skydiving stuff, though, isn't there?
I suppose you could.
The skydiving kind of goes with the electronics.
Yeah, yeah, we could, but yeah, I'm just kind of fortunate that shooting is also something I love to do. So, I kind of try to make sure it stays fun. But you know how it is when you're kind of still trying to build.
Yeah.
It's like,
Have you ran into Travis Haley at all?
we actually just did a range weekend thing together. We didn't get a lot of time to hang out because we were both working, but he was teaching on actually the range next door to me, in South Carolina.
Right on.
It was a full day of one of those things where every 2 hours we got another 20 guys. So it was like go
Just
go
a
go
quick
go.
familiarization.
Yeah, a little 2-hour pistol clinics, and we were both teaching pistol stuff.
Do you like doing those?
They're fun. They are a lot of fun. I think that right now, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of guys like going to those because they feel like they get more bang for the buck.
You get a good sampling.
Get a sample. It's not, the downside is you can't give them any real serious training.
For them, though, they can probably do a lot more networking.
Yeah,
They
there's a
walk
lot of
away with-
networking. You get to, and to me, it's also about community. So events like that, or like yours and stuff, they build a community, and that's the only way we're gonna, the only way it's gonna work. Too many people are trying to divide us as it is. So the more opportunities we have to come together over shooting or anything like that, training, self-reliance, the better.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the only way we're gonna not get divided.
Yep. Yeah, and everything is division, man. And if you just have conversations with people and you go to places, it's just like 1 second removed, man. You might be the Glock guy, but you go to a pistol event and bring your Glock, and it happens to be a 1911, and all of a sudden you meet these other dudes, and it opens doors and exposes you to things that you had I'll have some perception of how things are, but once you're there, you're like, oh, this isn't at all what I thought it was. These guys are totally cool.
Yeah, or you'll have, for example, a big range weekend where you'll have 100 to 150 people, maybe 200 people, and you're meeting new friends that have the same types of interest. Maybe you're new at this stuff, and you have guys that have been doing this for a long time, so they'll have gear, they'll have guns. You'll be like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool. What do you think about that? And you're like, well, if I was starting out again, I would do this.
I can save you a lot of money.
Exactly. So that's the other thing about classes too. Guys that come to classes for the first time, sometimes they'll reach out and be like, oh, do I need this? Do I need that? I was like, bring what you got. As long as you have what's on the packing list, just bring it. We'll work through it. By the time it's over, you're gonna be in a lot better place. And the discussions that go on the side that don't have anything to do with me.
Yep.
Of guys show and tell about gear and stuff like that. Hey, I was looking at that online. Can I see that? And I'm like, oh yeah, here, let me show you this or whatever. And because different guys are down the path farther than others. So
yeah,
that's that community that I love. The tribe. We got to build the tribe. We got to build a community, and we got to keep it together.
You have to, because they're doing such a good job at dividing everybody.
Exactly.
And they're dividing them just on the internet. Most people, they have this instant gratification, right? They feel some sort of accomplishment because they read some stuff on the internet and then ordered something off Amazon. You get the endorphin release, you go to bed. I mean, I'm guilty of it myself. I have boxes full of shit that I've ordered that I don't even know if that shit works, some of it. And I'm very impulsively, I'm very easily marketed to through social media. And I have some cool stuff because of it.
Yeah.
But, if you're not out there putting it on and sweating in it and bleeding in it, you don't know what it's going to do.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. So what do you want to do that you haven't done?
I should probably write a book.
Yeah?
About night vision.
About night vision.
Yeah. See there, I said it.
How much inflection from your real world would be in there from actually back, when you were younger? Would it just be night vision, or would it be actual, hey, this is how we use this and that we did this on this mission? Or
I think something along the lines of, the evolution and where we came from and how we got to where we are and what the equipment is and stuff like that. That'd be fun.
Have you started it?
No, I've thought about it.
How would you do it?
I don't know. First, I need to probably slow down enough to start putting thoughts on paper or something. But
Just start doing voice to text, man. Start making notes, putting it together.
It's a good idea.
Get a couple people to look at it.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Have you ever run across Jack Carr at all?
I have not.
Amazing rider.
His name's been coming up a lot lately, though.
Especially since you were just over in Montana.
Yeah, I was just over in Montana and just doing all these podcasts. Like, oh, you need to. I don't know. I'm like, I don't know, Jack. So I don't know.
If you look on his Instagram, there's pictures of him wearing kit that I made in my mom's garage for him.
Back in the day.
Yeah. So how is Andy Stump's set up over there?
You mean as far as the studio?
Yeah.
It's just a little room.
He owns a Black Rifle Coffee.
He does.
The only Black Rifle Coffee over there, I think. The only independent.
Well, I don't know about
Yeah.
the only independent one or whatever, but it's nice. Yeah, I went in there, had coffee while I was waiting for him, and his studio's like a couple blocks down the street. It's in an office building, and he's just got a little office room set up with table and not that unlike what you have here, except more of the square table. We're sitting across from each other kind of setup. And yeah,
that's
pretty
cool.
simple.
Yeah, small world, man.
Yeah, that was fun. He's an easy guy to talk to. Pretty nice guy. I like visiting with him. Hopefully next time I'm up that way, we'll get together again.
I think he's friends with Sean, with Mike Ritlin, who was I think he has Alpha Dog as his thing. He trained the Cairo dog, I believe. He was a team guy.
Okay.
And then a couple of them other dudes have podcasts too.
Yeah.
And then Sean Ryan is in Nashville here. He's in Franklin.
Okay.
He's close here. Yeah. So your class is daytime class this time?
Yeah. Daytime, 8 to 5, shooting steel out to this range. About all we can get is about 500 yards. But most of the guys will be bringing ARs with optics on them, scopes.
You got night vision stuff with you?
I'm the nod father. Of course I do.
Like, is it an armory in your truck? Like you open it up and it looks like a weapons cage?
It's embarrassingly messy in there. But no, I've got my helmet, nods,
awesome,
and,
man.
Stuff like that.
Cool.
Like I said, you never know when you get a chance to go out and shoot at night.
So what's all your socials? How do people find you?
Green Line Tactical, pretty much across the board. Instagram is Green Line Tactical. I do have a Facebook, Green Line Tactical Facebook, and those are the two main socials.
You have a group on there for alumni and stuff?
I do have an alumni group, but it's for alumni. You'd be surprised. I get people that aren't alumni that try to join. I was like, why? Do you not know what that word means?
I just want to see what's inside.
But yeah, I had one guy, and if you're listening, I'm not trying not to be a jerk. He's like, oh, I'm not yet, but I want to be. I was like, well, hit me up after you take a class, brother, because that's kind of like the cost of entry is to get in the tribe. But yeah, we do have an alumni group, kind of like the Tact Response alumni group, kind of thing. As a matter of fact, that was the inspiration for it, and it's a good, like, a lot of good discussions in there. Not a lot of BS. But I don't have the Twitter thing going on yet. I don't know if that's something I should be. You
should do X, yeah. You should do
X.
It. Absolutely, because there's just a huge group of people there that are not other places. Yeah. It's weird. Like, we'll have a bunch of TikTok people. I got 120,000 on our TikTok for the podcast. And most of those do not seem to cross over to Instagram.
Yeah.
Just a complete different group of people.
Yeah. Well, I'd say Instagram, maybe not quite as much as Facebook, is more of an older crowd, age-wise. Mm-hmm. Especially, I know Facebook is. It's just
a lot more words on Facebook. A lot of typing on Facebook.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of exchange of knowledge there also.
There is. It's a good place. If you can sort through it, you can sift through the chat.
You just have to get in the right groups.
Yeah. Exactly, and that's why, like my group, there's no
bullshit
clowning around in there. It's not too serious, but it's like, if you need advice about something, you're gonna get it. And there's a lot of industry professionals in there as well. So,
how did you meet James the first time?
Oh shoot, man, Get Off the X back in the day.
Yeah,
I stumbled across it back when forums were the thing, and I was on Tony Scotty's blog.
Who was Tony Scotty? Why do I know that name?
Driving.
BSR, Bill Scott Racing. Yeah.
And
Kelly McCann, the Crucible.
Yeah. So I was on his blog or website about vehicle dynamics and stuff, and he's said something on there. Wrote something like, "Hey, go check out our friends at Get Off the X." I was like, "What is this?" And I click on it. Before you know it, you had to have a username and password. So I guess I registered, and it turned out I was one of the, first few hundred people, I think, on there. So, back in the day, I was team dad on there and whatnot. And we just kind of, knew each other through that. And then I took a class, took fighting rifle. And before you know it, I think I taken fighting rifle, then came back for a few other things. John Farnham was here doing one of his instructor classes. I took it, and then I brought my ODA. I brought my team here for fighting rifle and intermediate distance fighting rifle, which I don't think is on the docket anymore. But we stayed for 4 days and stuff. So James and I just had become friends that way over the years. And as I started doing more and more of my own training, he really kind of became a mentor in a lot of ways, and just became. I say he was a better friend to me than I probably was.
I think all of us can say that.
Yeah. I mean, we would, we didn't talk a lot, but we texted and stuff like that. And one of those guys that if I had a question or an issue or just something, especially training work related, he was always there.
Yep. Immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he used to bust my balls for not sticking around and making videos with him.
Yeah.
He'd be like, "What do you don't like money, I guess."
Yep. Yep. No
Uh,
doubt, man. Yeah. People don't realize James used to be the vice president of a company called Light Fighter.
Yep.
And which became ATS, and there was lightfighter.net, which was the forum. And then when they stood up the tactical gear section, they made me the moderator over there. And then they did Get Off the X when he started the company for real. And that's when that all evolved, man. Yeah, that was huge. And then Facebook really killed all of that stuff.
It did. It changed the face of the social media. I mean, I guess there's still ARFCOM is still a pretty big thing.
I'm banned there.
Yeah, I just don't. I mean, I suppose if I advertise there, one of the reasons I'm on Facebook just has taken over.
It has.
But I think it has killed the forums.
It absolutely.
And a few people have tried to get them started back, just in case, especially in the gun world.
But there's a history, because they own that, right? They own those servers or wherever it's hosted. You might remove it off of Amazon hosting, but you could put it someplace else. But there is a decades of knowledge on those forums. If you look like AR-15, man, if you look at in the outdoor section, there's a prepping and survival. There's like a survival gardening section, and then survival fiction. But you have 30 years of it's still there, and documentation where these guys have fleshed these threads out over years. Hey, I just bought this homestead. Here's what I'm doing. Here's the money production. Here's the equipment evolution. And, and it's just there, man. All of it is still there if you just take the time to look through it.
Yeah. And the good thing, if, I know guys have not super successfully tried to reinvigorate the gun forum stuff in other ways, because we can get shut down by Facebook.
You absolutely can.
Today.
And it's so the attention span has just been destroyed, right? So especially like TikTok and Reels and Shorts, the Shorts, especially on Instagram, we have I've got 1 second to capture your attention for 3. And I better have something in that 3 to get you to 5 with a call to action in that first 5 seconds. That's why all those thumbnails are cleavage or gun porn or whatever it is. And then the video has nothing to do with that. But it's that attention span it's just stomped all of that.
And I don't know. I think some of it just has to do with how busy we are.
It is. But so what I was going to say was the reason we're not going to go to forums, most people, because you got to go to you got to click one button that goes to Google or whatever you're using for your browser, and then you got to type in ar15.com, and now you got to click 4 more buttons to get there. Whereas Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, it's an app.
Tap your phone.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's even me. I'm like, oh man, I'll go to my website to look something up, and I'm like, why don't I have an app on here?
What a pain in the ass.
I got to push 2 more buttons.
Yeah, I can't even find crap on my website.
So from my perspective as the owner, like, just imagine how many clients we're losing just because you can't push that button. Yeah. The easier you make it for people to give you money, the more money they give you.
So what you're saying is I need to create a green line app.
An app, but definitely be within a lot of people just spend their entire time within Instagram, for instance, develop that, get that merged in as a business account so you can put click-through buttons to sell your merchandise, because people are just lazy.
Yeah.
They are lazy.
Well, Yeah, we've always been lazy, and now it's just so much easier to be lazy.
Yeah, you always capture a man in the path of least resistance with
Yeah.
a booby trap. It's always, or a snare or something.
Yeah. I mean, and now with Amazon Prime and all that stuff, it's just made us, we're able to do so much more in such a short period of time. So I don't know if you can justify saying, well, maybe I'm not lazy, maybe I'm just busy.
Yeah, well, money never
trying
sleeps.
to get as much done and as quickly as possible. I ain't got time for more
Everything's
than 4 clicks.
Everything's instantaneous. Like we used to have gatekeepers. I would have to call a company, get through the secretary to get to the person that I needed to speak to within the business. And none of that exists anymore. I send out I author my text and click 10 people that I want it to receive it. And one of them's in Japan, one of them's in Germany, and the rest of the guys, I'm going to immediately hear back from the guy in Japan or Germany if I'm sending that in the middle of the night. And then in the morning, I'm going to have the answers for my other 10 people involved. So concept for artwork, we're going to send it to our embroidery person, our sticker person, our T-shirt guy, our hat guy. And then I'm going to have 5 other guys that are going to give me input. Hey, change this. I like this. Or, hey, we're good to go. Yeah. It's all going to happen seamlessly.
Yeah.
And we say all the time, Jason, my T-shirt guy's like, man, John does business on Christmas. We always do business on Christmas and Christmas Eve. That's the one that stands out the biggest.
Yeah.
But it's every day. And there is no gatekeeper. You have the access to everyone now.
Yeah, there's no 9 to 5 anymore.
Yeah. When guys are like, how do I? I'm like, if you wanted to do it, you'd already do it. The answer's in the phone right there.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't, you have the answer to everything you want. If we're not doing it, it's because, it's not that you can't, it's that you just don't want to, or you have other more important things to do.
Yeah, it's priorities. Right.
Yeah. Awesome, man.
Yeah, dude.
Well, thanks for sitting down.
Well, thanks for having me, man.
Anything we need to add here? Anything you want them to know?
Shoot, I don't know. You should buy some SOE gear.
Come take a class.
Bring it to one of my classes.
Absolutely. Get in that helicopter class.
Yeah, get in a helicopter class. Come to the Night Ops Summit. Just come and see us. I'm all over the country, man. I don't really have a home base range or anything like that. So, I'm on the road. So
anywhere.
Yeah, pretty much. I was in Kalispell, Montana.
Somebody wants to host you. How many students do you need to show up?
It depends on
what does that range need to look like?
That's all on the website. It kind of depends on what the class is. Certain rifle classes need farther distances than others, or pistol, stuff like that. But we do have a section on the website that just says, basically you want to host, here's, range requirements and stuff like that.
Cool.
Yeah. So I took a cue from James on that one.
Awesome.
Here's what we need if you want to host. And that's the thing. Hosting used to be an art. You remember back in the day, but that was more of the forums, and guys would organize each other and stuff like that. I think social media has kind of killed that a little bit, but it's still, that's what works the best. If I have 1 or 2 dudes in an area that are networked in with all their shooting buddies, and they want to bring me or somebody to their local area so they don't have to travel, having that 1 or 2 guys that are willing to put in the work to make it happen makes all the difference in the world. And usually those guys will get a free spot in class for doing that. That's the least I can do. Is you organized it, you got 15 or 20 people to come take this class. Why shouldn't I reward the guy for that work by letting him shoot without
no doubt free. Plus they have access to you beyond that.
Yeah,
after that,
and it's always fun. But yeah, I love what I do.
That's cool. Is there social media for the summit?
It doesn't have its own.
Okay.
It's just kind of it's on the website, so all the information about it's on the website, and then we post about it. And like I said, as the sponsors start to get officially secured in, we'll start announcing that, and it'll just go over the Green Line Tactical Instagram and Facebook and all that.
Awesome. Well, we'll put all your social media stuff and all your links in the description on the video there.
Appreciate it, bro.
And you guys can find him straight over there. So that's it.
Yeah, man. Thanks. It's about time. I guess I finally get in here and hang out with you.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
I've been hearing you were in town. I'm like, where's that motherfucker at?
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
All good. Well, dude, thank you, man.
Thank you.
All right.